Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Perry Bush with us back from Bluffton University. We're talking a little bit about the ongoing invasion into Ukraine. And, you brought up a good historical fact from 1914 talking about the precedent for religious leaders coming out and saying, hey, end this. There's no way out of this. For humanity's sake, do this. Kind of touch on that and what the history tells us about it.
Well, recently 1,000 religious leaders from around the world from a variety of traditions, Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, have called for a negotiated peace in Ukraine, reminiscent of the miraculous Christmas peace of 1914, and saying that the sides have got to sit down and start talking, and calling for an immediate ceasefire. 1,000 religious leaders have issued this statement, and they're circulating it widely, hoping for more. Who knows, Jeff, what that will do, but I expect we're going to see voices like this increasing across the political and religious spectrum as this wretched war just grinds on with, by the way, horrific casualties.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point, because I think common sense, we all have this common sense factor in our brain that, eventually Putin's going to say, well, enough is enough. The casualties are too high. But you mentioned that he has a threshold that he's more than willing to go past.
Well, there was a really interesting piece in the New York Times just last weekend about their investigation into Putin's war, and they quoted a senior Russian official who told United States CIA Director William Burns that Putin would accept 300,000 Russian dead. I mean, we've got 100,000 dead on both the Ukrainian and Russian sides. I mean, it's horrific killing fields now. And he's willing to accept that figure, even as, by the way, he's scouring the Russian penal system for convicts to send to the front and enlisting mercenaries of all kinds. And this due to this massive draft that have caused the fleeing of hundreds of thousands of Russian men out of the country. But Putin apparently says he's unmoved by the apparent cost and is willing to do whatever it takes. And I think what he's planning on is that he's got more resolve than the West. And in the end, the West will say, it's not worth it, whatever. I mean, we just can't worry too much about Ukraine as, global gas prices fluctuate, though actually now they've been coming down. In the end, though, I think he's counting on the fact that a couple of hard winters without Russian gas and fuel for the West will decide, hey, it's not worth it. We're not that interested in a free and united Ukraine, and Putin is more interested. I think that's what he's counting on. In the meantime, though, he's willing to inflict horrific suffering on the people of Ukraine. Horrific suffering. I mean, nightly now, wave after missiles and drones are coming through and bombing Ukrainian electrical grids and sewage systems, Jeff, which is clearly a war on the Ukrainian civilian population. I mean, 1.5 million of the people of Odessa are out of power last weekend. Only 4/5 of the capital city of Kyiv has power right now. And every night we get these waves of bombers, again, aiming at the civilian infrastructure in the midst of what is, as usually, a terrifically cold Ukrainian winter.
Yeah, and based on that, what you said, there is obviously more than indications that that's what he's targeting is civilian infrastructure. Does that lead the path down to war crimes eventually, once war crime charges, once this is all over with?
Oh, absolutely. I would think if we believe the international system of law and order has any bearing or meaning at all, there ought to be war crimes trials and crimes coming out of this. I mean, we see what's happening when Russian troops withdraw from areas. I mean, there are mass graves and horrific records of torture. And of course, you've got Ukrainian and international forensic experts going in there to document this, to prepare the groundwork for those kinds of trials. So again, it's a marvelous thing these religious leaders are doing around the world. One just has to add their voice, one's own voice to those kinds of efforts and push for that. Christians around the world this week are celebrating angels who come proclaiming peace on earth. And this is the kind of horrific warfare we see unfolding now in front of our eyes. And we can only hope and use our voices to push for that carnage to end, even though the prospects on some level seem dim.
Yeah, and the fears that the world becomes desensitized to what
Absolutely.
they're saying.
I think that's what Putin's counting on.
I think he's hoping for that. All right, Dr. Bush, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. Happy holidays to you.
Same to you.
Your viewers.
You bet. Nice chatting with you. We'll be back right after this.